Hello, hello. We're starting our Instagram live. Waiting for our guest to join us in about 1 second. Hope we have people. There's one, there's two. Perfect. Hello,
Hmm.
hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, good.
Hello.
Great sound check. Thank you for being here. This is about my third or fourth live. I'm excited you all could join me in this pre-Mother's Day special that's going to focus both on coaching and being boy moms. For those close to me, you know I am a boy mom, and that's something I've been interested in for a while. And so I'm so pleased and in gratitude to be joined by two coaches who I work with very closely, Jen Vanmeter and Dr. Yasemin Gokalp. But I will have them both introduce themselves, introduce you to their companies, and then we'll get started. So, Yas, if you could go first, and then Jen, if you could follow.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting us. I am an executive coach specialized on executive presence, especially for technical professionals. And so happy to be here. And mom of
Cool.
two amazing boys.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I'm Jen Van Meter. My company is the Jasper Group. I do executive and team coaching as well as strategy and culture change. And I am the mom of three awesome boys.
Nice, nice, nice. So here's my icebreaker question for us to all think about. And I've thought about this a little bit, but I'm gonna of course let you all go first. Um, Thinking about the skills of a coach, which there are many. There's many, I think, from listening to questioning to feeling. What skill do you think crosses being a boy mom with your coaching? So you think about those two different audience, what's the common skill set you see using in both? And
I
Jen,
can
you want to
take,
take this one?
yeah, I'll take a stab first. For me, especially as my boys get older, my oldest is 20 and then a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school. They don't want a lot of mom and dad's advice. So then I try to be a sneaky consultant and I come around and I try to lead them into what I think is a good thing, which is a solid consulting skill. What I'm finding is, no surprise, the most effective is doing more of that good listening, repeating back, synthesizing for them, and then having them get really curious. Where's that idea coming from? How are you feeling about this? And,
Mm,
just like with the executives we work with, they are whole creative and resourceful. And those boys come to usually some really good conclusions when they can slow down. So,
nice. Slowing them down.
yeah,
Your fundamental belief in them being creative, resourceful, and whole,
yeah,
and leaving space for it to emerge. Leaving
yeah,
space. Which I love because I know moms, particularly boys' moms, sometimes we feel like we have to put everything in place, put it all in place for them. So nice
Yeah.
leaving some space for that. Yes, where are you on this question?
Well, lately I have been practicing a lot of meeting with the boys wherever they are emotionally and regulating them back to baseline together. And we often experience the very same thing with the leaders too. Often they, because we, have the ability to create safe environments for them, oftentimes they share their most vulnerable things with emotions involved. So I think it's very important that meet them wherever they are emotionally and regulate emotions, calm them down to a point that we can articulate ways forward. I think I do that with the boys too, practicing with them and implementing them with the leaders that I work with.
I love that. Can you give us one of those practices that you may use to help regulate them back down? What's a technique that you use?
One of them is, I think, I've been lately obsessed with executive presence research, and one of them is trying to observe the facial expressions and mirror it, mirror their facial expressions, body language. I said facial expressions because many times we coach, you know, via digital means, so body language doesn't really apply much, but facial expressions does. So what I do most is, just replicate the facial expressions. Whatever I do, they do, I do it too. Meaning, it's like a visual empathy that you're
Mhm.
showing them. They don't they feel like, okay,
Yes,
she gets me.
yes.
Because often what I find out is that if I verbally say something like I understand you or anything like that, the response that I get from my boys is like, how do you understand? You don't go to the school like I do. But doing it, utilizing body language helps. And I find that very practical with meeting with the leaders as well.
I appreciate this because what I'm literally watching you say is we have to slow down and be paying so much attention we can mirror.
Mhm.
We can mirror for them what they're seeing, and when they see we see it, that kind of lowers the temperature and allows them to open up and get vulnerable. Beautiful. I'll say for me, and this took me a minute, and with my oldest, every time I think about it, I just want to pinch myself. Getting away from the question why.
Mhm.
We both, with all three of us know the why question is like the poo-poo question in coaching, right? It's just the poo-poo question. But why did you do this? Why? So I have tried to just strip that, you know, share with me what happened. What were you thinking? How did that make you feel? And it just forces me to like, because as we know, the why is a rational, sometimes blaming kind of question.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how do I move away from that? You know, so that's what I've really tried to do because it used to be, why did you do that? And they don't
Yeah.
know. They don't
You
know why
said
they
one last
did.
week, Philipia. It was so good. I used it the next day, and Cooper said, "Oh, Philipia is so good." I said, "Well, what's going on with you?" I said, instead of like, "What the heck? What's going?" It was like, "What's happening for you right now, hun?"
Yeah,
And that like totally changed the game. That was a great parenting question from you.
yeah.
Thank you.
And again, for the clients that we have, what's going on?
Yeah.
And rarely do they get
Mhm.
asked that, right? Rarely do they get asked.
Mhm.
So great. So not that coaching is mothering, but the skills cross
It
Yeah.
what we
does.
do as leaders. Yes, I'm going to put this question to you because this is your specialty and what you do. And even have the pleasure of working with you with a technical team I work with, and you help those leaders do this. But so often we'll think this person has great execution. They get things done. Oh, they should be the next leader. They should be the next manager. And oftentimes it doesn't work out. So when you have clients that have executed well, particularly in a technical space, what are some of the coaching techniques you use to help them sometimes break out of that technical mold and touch into some other parts of what the organization may need? I see you're coming in a little slow. Yes. Uh-oh. So you know what, Jen, while she's coming in, I have a special question for you too.
All right.
We were talking about growing cultures. And
Yeah.
you and I, yeah, as you just came in, I'm not sure if you heard my full
So,
question. So I'm gonna let Jen go, then I'm gonna come back to you. Cool?
all right.
Okay, so you
Very
can
cool.
you can be processing. Uh Jen, you and I have been in this situation a lot. They want to change the culture. They want to
Yeah.
transform the culture. How does leadership coaching support that journey?
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite things. Like so often we get brought in to do strategy consulting and they say, we're going to go a different direction. We want a different outcome. And we ask the question, what kind of culture do you need to get to that outcome? Well, these leaders have been functioning so highly in the previous culture, it's so hard for them sometimes to pivot. And that's a perfect spot for coaching to come in. Um, Helping those leaders be more intentional and aware of how they're showing up, and not just Academy Award for Best Acting, but really what's going on for them, what's the mindset that they need to get to this outcome. And then when they're intentional about that, the behaviors are going to fall out of that mindset. And that's what the other people are going to model and follow. And that's what the leaders need to be aware of and really um, explicit and intentional about. How am I showing up? What are the behaviors that I want to build? And that people will then follow those behaviors. And that's how you build the culture. It becomes not just the leaders are doing this, but it becomes this is how the whole organization is showing up. The coaching
Mhm.
helps infuse it throughout the system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cascaded across. You know what I find too in the strategy part, right? It's like, okay, as you said, here's the strategy, here's the mindset. Sometimes even getting that executive team to be agreement, what are going to be the 3 to 5 behaviors we're going to exemplify?
Yeah.
And when they start talking about that, you see sometimes friction
Right.
about what was acceptable and now what's necessary.
Yeah.
Because some people don't want to give up control. Some
Right.
people don't want to give up directness. And some people don't want to give up what's got them there
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
begin to reshape what can bring the organization to the next level.
Yeah. When you say that, it makes me think of when we were learning adult stage development in coaching school, and an organization can only perform at the highest level that the core leaders can perform. So when they're all amygdala hijacked down here in the old way, they don't realize they're holding not just themselves back, but everyone else. That's why I got into coaching, is helping leaders see how much more they can be and offer than what they thought they were.
Absolutely. The one I love is often I tell leaders, you're the thermostat. You turn it up or you turn it down. And
Mhm.
yes, to your point, it's all about your presence. When you
All
walk in a
about your
room, are they like,
presence.
okay, let's get going? Or are they like, oh God, they're here? Like, so when you walk in the room, what do you bring with you? What
Yeah.
are you bringing with you?
I'm
So I
going to
love that.
start using Yasmin's visual empathy. I'm going to start telling that to my leaders, because that's what other people are mirroring back to them. What do you want to mirror?
Ah, right. That's a good point. They are mirroring what you allow. They are mirroring what you
Yes.
allow. I love that. Yeah, I don't want to rush you too quickly back to your question. Any thoughts on this one around the push around changing culture with coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is the fastest way to do it.
Mm,
There are many other
mm,
ways to work on changing the culture slowly, slowly, but I feel like this is not the time to invest in your future culture and let that slow organic growth, because it's just everything is chaotic. AI is introduced to all
Hmm.
businesses, workforce who are very, skilled about AI and technical things are really young. And, there's this generational gap is playing a big role.
mm,
These new university graduates have the information nobody else does. So, culture change was always, coaching was always part of it and it was always essential. But I think now, until, this AI is all embedded into our culture fully, business culture fully, coaching is imperative. Need to have. If you choose to have culture change, if you believe that your team needs it,
mm.
then coaching has to be part of it because it is an accelerator,
Yeah, I
rather
will
than
say you are mimicking what Jen and I just experienced a couple of weeks ago, working with a client. They were ready to be an AI first culture.
Mhm.
And they were starting with, oh, we all have a Gemini account, so now we're AI first. And what we had them stand back and think about, no, you want a culture of curiosity, you
Mhm.
want a culture of ethics, you want a culture of safety and responsibility in order to be that true AI first
Right.
culture. And so you're right, those are coaching elements. And I have this new mantra, keeping humans human,
Yeah.
particularly as we all chase, right?
Right.
This AI, this love of AI. And I get it, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
As you all know, I was just in Scottsdale and took my second autonomous car. So letting,
Did you?
nobody, right, yes, I did. It's my second time. So the future is now, it's coming. So how do we embrace it? And the woman I rode with had to coach her into let's do it. It's still keeping humans as we engage with
Yeah.
them. Speaking of this technical journey we're all in and moving
Mhm.
towards to, yes, I want to go back to the question for you. That's your specialty.
Yeah.
How do we help that lovely technical mind break out and do some of that keeping humans in a way that their organization may need that's new?
Yeah. One thing we knew, is as you are boys' moms, Philippa, I know your son is a basketball player
Yeah.
too, just like mine are. Whatever you practice, you get better at.
Mm,
Technical folks are really good at practicing technical skills. They're amazing at solving world hardest problems. But if you look at them, and they will admit this too, many times they struggle with social issues, social problem solving, social interactions. And one of the reasons why is that they don't practice social skills. They practice task related skills all day long, compared to a salesperson or a human resources individual who is constantly in communication with others. So they don't really have a lot of social skills to interact with um, their team. And I think one of the promotion criteria is with especially technical branches, if they are very good at what they do, they are promoted. The promotion criteria is not the leadership skills in technical world, it's the how well you can execute your technical skill. So that generates so many problems, because these folks are already having struggles with social issues, social interactions with team. And then on top of that, you're a leader put into this position. Now you will have to lead and inspire a team towards a common goal, common culture, common, performance. It gets complicated.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I think many leadership related initiatives are tailored for normal population, not specifically technical folks. And what we
mhm.
do best is to tailor our coaching, serving to their needs, meet them wherever they are in their social emotional learning journey, and start from there and move, slowly but surely introduce them to new skills, and have them think about different ways of doing things, which
Yeah.
leads to performance improvements.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I offer all the time is that leadership is a practice, not a position. You have to be in practice of the skills that sets that you want. It's not so much where you are on the org chart, you know? And so I'm curious when you say, oh, I put them in practice, is there anything in specifically, like a few exercises you could share that you encourage technical leaders to do?
Yeah, technical leaders are tangible learners. So many times it's hard to explain emotional states of other beings with words. And I love expressing, these. We know that they're not soft skills, but soft skills with words to them. I use science and I have them
Mm,
practice, test several neural networks while in our
mm.
conversations. Should we try one?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
I want to see.
All right. So we know that whatever we practice, we get better at. And whatever we practice, either mental skill or a sports related skill, has a neural network representation in our brain. And for example, if you are measuring how strong you are, there are some tangible things that you can measure. But the question is, how can you measure your empathy level?
Mhm.
Or how can you measure your social emotional skills so that you know your baseline and we can improve it together, right? So we know that the time between when we ask questions about these skills, how available these skills to our verbal expression is a measure, time study actually, to measure the neural network's strength. So I'm going to ask
Really?
both of you a question, and I want you to answer immediately as soon as you have a thought in your mind. I want you to just raise your hand if you
Okay.
have the answer, right? You don't have to say the answer, but if you have the answer, just raise your hand. Know that we're racing against time. So as soon as you have the thought, just raise your hand and I'll give you like 3 seconds, okay? You don't have to wait for my 3 seconds. So the question is, I want you to think about something that you don't like about yourself. All right. Means that the question that relates to this neural network is this neural network is an Olympic level neural network. That means that we practice that over and over again every day, several hours a day. And this is very normal that we practice it, and it's very common. Mostly everybody does. And this is the neural network of self criticism.
Mm,
So self criticism is, one of the things that we all have, but if it is out of control, leads to many leadership performance issues
mhm,
or lack of fulfillment issues. With our leaders, with our kids, with us, right? So now we have a baseline, and we start working on what gets in the way. How does that manifest in our life, in our leadership, how we show up to our kids? If you're so fast judging yourself, how fast
mm,
are you judging others?
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
how is that working for your spouse?
Yeah.
How is that working for your significant other, your children?
Yeah.
How is that working for the team members that you lead? Like,
Right.
if you're so fast about judging you, um, how is that affecting your project performance? Because nobody wants to be judged, and nobody will perform in an environment when they are judged.
Yeah.
I,
And these are
I,
very individual
Amazing.
questions,
Yeah.
yeah, they are. And I was just thinking about this as you were sharing the experiment, and not only how quick it is, but how personal it is.
Mhm.
And Jen, I was starting to think about when we were with Gallup last week and we were there for their world release of their Thrive report. Does that same question hold true outside of North America? Is that
I wonder.
identification of self-criticism so quick, right?
Mhm.
Is it just always that quick to do that? So I love that. How quick are we to self-criticize? Because if that's true for ourselves, it is very available for others,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we know people, that's not where people get to grow and thrive under
Mm-mm.
that kind of domain. Love that. Love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Thank you for
cool.
sharing that.
That's a
Yeah, I'm
cool
sure
tool.
people, it is. It's a very cool tool. Um, wanna actually, this is just coming to me because I was thinking about the difference. And again, us being boy moms and us coming from very different spaces and
Mhm.
places. Yaz, you grew up in Turkey.
Yes.
Jane, you grew up in Appalachia, US. I grew up in New England. Very different places. How do you see culturally where your origin story comes from has impacted your coaching? When you think about it, like where I come from, how does that contribute to how
Yeah,
I coach?
yeah.
And maybe even how you parent a little bit
I
too.
think
May
that,
want to add that in, how you,
yeah.
and particularly how you parent boys. So just curious
I,
about that.
I've got something that pops to mind. I was the only girl. Well, I had one older girl cousin on one side of my family, the family that we saw almost every week. I was the only girl. Well, it was Michelle. She was 6 years older than I. And then I was the only one. And then I had to wait another 7 years until my cousin Natalie and my sister Sarah were born. And I hated it. All these boys bullying me around. They all grew up to be wonderful, I mean, amazing men. They were rotten boys. And then the great irony, Yaz, you're going to love this, right? Yaz and I, most of our work is with DOD, or a lot of our work is with DOD.
Mhm.
What I find is that having grown up in such a male dominated culture, I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. So much of my work is in the Pentagon, and with or earlier in my career was with law enforcement or in Silicon Valley, where a lot of times I was the only woman in the room. A lot of times I was the only person in the room from the United States. And I found that I like, oh, I can hang here. And also having to fight all those boy cousins, I know how to challenge just enough in a way that they can hear it. Um, so I would say I think now that I'm a boy mom, I have a different perspective on male emotional intelligence. I don't know, this word is maybe a little bit too harsh, but I think until I had my own boys, I had a prejudice, a belief
Mm-hmm.
that, which I'm not proud to say, that men weren't as empathetic, weren't capable of the depth of stretch that my girlfriends
Mhm.
were, and my aunts and my mom and my grandmas. And now that I have these little boys, they're now becoming young men, I get to see how deeply sensitive and
Mhm.
thoughtful and emotional, what beautiful emotional creatures they are. And what I love in our society today is there's more space for that. I get
Mm-hmm.
to read the text. When one of my kids was going through a breakup, I got to read the text that one of his best friends sent him, another boy, and it was so loving and supportive. So when I think about intelligent leadership today, I'm just so glad there's more of that that's available for them. And even more that I'm hearing, the most senior leaders in the Pentagon are talking like us. They're talking like about empathy and listening and being there for their people. So anyway, one of my favorite topics. Thanks.
Love it, Jen. Love that. Love that. Yes. What about you? What about growing up in Turkey? And now being here, we just had a conversation about your son and making a college choice. And as you were sharing the story, I was wondering if she were home, would this even be a debate? Like
Yeah.
it would that be
Oh,
available? So how is that different for you?
it wouldn't be a debate. I mean, I grew up in an environment where, I'm not going to go to college sentence were not available in the language. That wasn't a choice, you know. What is that? Growing up in Turkey, see, there cultural differences. And I think since I moved here, and as of yesterday, it was my 25th year in the United States. Um, it- I think I recognize very sensitive to cultural differences because I came from a different culture. But I realized that within United States also there are different cultures within United
Oh yeah,
States, and
yeah.
also different cultures within cultures. So I found it beneficial for me to recognize these differences in people. And I see that many communication breaks between leaders within the teams um, happens because of those. So I think when you come from a completely different culture and come to an environment, you start picking up these clues faster. It became an advantage for me, and I immediately. And I'm really curious about these things. Also, I don't shy away from asking questions about what did you mean by that? And I think they find it sweet because they think that I'm just curious about their culture when I ask that question. However, I usually ask their experience with it because many times they come with, different cultures within the cultures without realizing that.
I love the question, what did you mean by that? Because I can imagine all the time we're generally on autopilot. So you asking that question, they're probably like, okay, wait a minute, what did I mean by that? Right? Because
Yes.
we're just automatically doing things. So what did I mean by that? And let me slow down and really think about it. Because I'm moving through this world so quickly and with assumption, and with assumption about that. I love that. What did you mean by that? And yes, I can tell you just in American culture, offering that question with clearly an accent from somewhere different in the world, people probably not only like it, but want to explain it to you and explain to you why it's right. So that's the other thing I have no doubt of as you think about
Yes. Yeah,
let
they
me,
don't.
I'm sure it starts like this. Let me explain to you so you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when you're here, you'll know how to act.
Meanwhile, she's a PhD, like,
Right. I love it. I love it. I can just I can imagine the
um,
answers you have. Well, I'll say for me, growing up where I grew up, my family was one of the only Black families where we grew up. So it was very talking about cultures within cultures.
Mhm.
So one of the things I'm to this day so grateful for my parents was I have the not only the right but the wherewithal and the smarts to be in any room anybody else is in. And
yes,
that also started with I was the only girl in my family. So there was ways I had to learn to navigate to be a part of Sunday football because I really wasn't watching. I just wanted to be in their presence with them, right? Or basketball season. So learning how to create space for me to come in and be in.
Mhm.
And similar to what you all talk about being the only woman at the Pentagon, oftentimes being the not only woman, but then the only a woman of color in certain spaces,
Mhm.
and still asking these provocative questions and still having an expectation of certain things. So it is being the only girl in boy culture, you do get to see a different way to negotiate
yeah,
in ways that, and they can be as small as teasing is making connection,
yeah,
Mhm.
you know, teasing one another on really personal things that you're like, oh my goodness, that seems really, can seem very mean, but that's in some way, oftentimes, and this is could be generational. In fact, I know it's generational because sometimes my sons and my nephew look at my brothers and be like, "Yeah, that's not cool anymore." Like that we don't do that anymore. So some of
okay.
this is generational.
Yeah. I've
But
seen
some
you do it, Philipia. One of my favorites was we walked into an executive team a couple years ago, and there was this very alpha male.
oh, I know what you mean.
C-suite guy who was very intent on being the alpha male, but he wasn't the CEO. The CEO was a female, beautiful army officer who had become private sector. And I remember Felipe, you said to him, he's super tan. He's wearing this light red shirt with all his necklaces and bracelets. And you said, "Oh, aren't you pretty in pink?" And the thing is, You said it in a way that was loving and supportive and also teasing at the same time. And he just melted.
I
He just melted for
remember
you.
that.
He said,
I
"Well, aren't
remember
you
for that.
pretty in pink?"
I remember that. There are definitely different ways for us to navigate in
Yeah,
by again growing up with a different set of cultures that we learn how to do that. And if as far as I'm concerned, earn the right to do it.
Yeah.
that's
You
right.
know, earn the right to do it. Just one more question, or maybe two for both of you, and this is one that I'm making part of the tradition.
Mhm.
If you took a deep breath, and I know one of us is about to celebrate a big birthday, if you took a deep breath and had to uh, ask your 21-year-old self for advice on what to do next, what would she tell you? What would your 21-year-old self tell you if you asked her for some advice, what to do next? What would
Y-
she tell you?
You know, I had this blissful moment when I was playing pickleball, listening to 80s music, and um, there was a tournament and the 80s music was on, and I recalled a moment in my pictured myself in my, teenager room listening to these 80s songs, not understanding the words back then very much, but loving the music, jamming. And I thought about, where I am right now. I have two beautiful boys. I have a good education and a good loving my job and everything, a good life. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that girl would be very, very happy to see me where I
I
am. So
Love that. I
I'm
love that.
yeah.
I
I
feel
love that. And
blessed.
it's, yes, and as you shimmy into this big birthday, you do that.
Yeah.
You do that.
Yes.
Jen, what would your 21-year-old
My
self tell you?
21 is that was a hard question, Philipia. Um, but I got the answer right away. She'd be like, "Go for it, go for it. Don't slow down. Go for it."
Yeah.
It should be like, why, what would hold you back? Just keep going.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
was definitely my ethos. Thanks to
Yeah.
mom and dad for giving me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. All right.
How about you?
And ha,
Yeah. How about you?
you know what? I think mine would be, is that what you want to do? Is that what you
Mm,
want to do? Because I am wired for a little bit of people pleasing, and I'm learning now no is good and no thank you and not now is okay. Because 21, I went to lots of events, lots of things where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going. Come on, girl, come on, and I would go. So now my 21 would be like, is that what you really want to do?
mm,
And I ask myself that now. So it's a little different than yours, Jen, about go for it. Be like, is that what you want to go for?
yeah.
Yeah, very similar, but just a different question now. That's what you'd be
Yeah.
like, do you really want to do that? As opposed to doing it because it appeared to be the right thing to do, or I didn't want to miss something, or I didn't want to miss out on something. Is that really the thing I want to do?
Nice.
So that's
Very
that's what
nice.
I would ask. So I know our sons, and we're on Instagram, and I know they may or may not watch this, which is okay. And Sunday is Mother's Day, and so if there's a message you would share with your sons, and it could be related to your coaching, it could be related to your hope for them. Um, what would be the one message you would want to give them for this Mother's Day?
Mm,
I would want to say, they have so many dreams, maybe just like I was having those blissful moments, when I was a
Mhm.
teenager.
Mhm.
Just don't hold back. You already are, wherever you will be, you're already there. Everything will be just fine.
Mhm.
I wish I could give that to him. both of them, both of my sons, and to me back, because I will have to make sure that they have that, right? I also need to share that with
Mm,
myself as well.
Right.
Because I think, as I don't, at least I'll speak for myself, sometimes I try to mother from my 1980s, my 1990s
Yeah.
self, you know.
Yeah.
And the times are different.
Yeah.
Messages
they are.
both to me and to my
Yeah.
They
sons.
are different. They are, times are different. There's some things that don't change.
Mm-mm.
It's both
Um,
and. It's both
yeah.
and. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Jen?
I don't know. I get emotional just thinking about it, but I'm not going to cry on Instagram, I promise. I want my boys to know like they are just loved,
Mm,
now
Yeah.
until the end of their life. I want to fill them up with that, and Mark too, and all of our family on both sides. And I would want them, you ask about coaching. I'd want them to, I would encourage them to pause and remember that they are good to the bone and that they are whole, creative, and resourceful. And if they can just slow themselves down enough to be present and to pay attention,
mm.
goodness is going to come out of them. What do you
Mm.
get when you squeeze an orange? You get goodness. What do you get when you squeeze those three sweet boys?
Mm.
When they pause and they're present, you're going to get goodness. So
Both of you, beautiful, beautiful,
Right.
beautiful, beautiful. To my two boys, I would say, I've raised both of my children on I love you, and they know to end that with unconditionally. That's been since they were
Mm.
little. How do I love you? Unconditionally. And I feel like sometimes they've tested me on that, right? But I still love them unconditionally. And earlier this year, this New Year's, we did an experiment that I got from some podcaster where we wrote down, basically what do we want to stop from last year?
mhm.
What do we want to continue? What do we want to start in the new year? And my message for them would be, it's Mother's Day's in May. We agreed to in June to go back and look at we did it together to look at that in 6 months for them to remember that. And I'm excited to see how we've all lived into. How did we remember? Did we do it?
Yeah.
So just reminding them of our promise to one another,
Awesome.
and that I'm excited about thinking about that in a month when we're together and see where we've all grown and where we've been. So yeah,
So
that's
cool.
what it would be.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you for that.
Beautiful.
I We have time for one more thing. Since we've given the love to our sons, what is the one thing, and let us, again, being mindful of time, we got about 2 minutes, the one thing you want to see shift in our coaching? Like, and when you think about the coaching as an industry, or coaching as a career, coaching in your practice, what's the one thing you want to see different or shift
One thing
as
I
we
can
continue
share.
moving?
One thing I can share is that sometimes common perception about being assigned a coach is clients think that it is because compliance
Mm,
reasons. They feel like, what did I do wrong that I was assigned a coach?
Mhm.
I think that needs to change. And I think in organizational industrial development work, that needs to be made clear that coaching is not about compliance. And we're not there to, uh, work. We're in the behavior change business, but without people actually, wanting to change any behavior, there is no magical wand. So
Yeah.
clients, 100% participation is needed. And if they're only willing to change any behavior, we can.
Yeah.
That's what my take is.
Yeah.
thank you, Jen. You got
I
about like
would
36 seconds.
34 seconds, I'll say that I would like people to start younger in their careers, earlier in their careers. I think
Mm,
that, it's an investment.
Mhm.
And sometimes that investment is only given to the most senior people. I think if people could start experiencing coaching,
Mm,
even in little touch bases, and I'm thinking of Philipia, some of the work you and I
Yeah,
did last year with rising leaders, and
yeah.
get a little taste of it, and then they can do more of it with each other, and then they're gonna already know, like Yasmin, that it can really accelerate things. I think that would make such a big difference for people to have more access to it earlier in their careers, even if it's only 3 sessions, 5 sessions, even if it's in a group setting. I think
right.
it can make a big difference.
Thank you. Ladies,
Agree.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you for being you. I am so, so grateful to be in your orbit. This has been a joy. Happy Mother's Day. Happy big birthday,
Thank
Yaz.
you.
And with that, I will be signing off and thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank
H.
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.